What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee-wee the Plug, the number one Knicks fan in the world. And in today's episode, we talking about the return of the NBA after a long All-Star weekend. The second half of the season officially started last night, and we got a lot to talk about. Before we do that, though, I do want to say if you are new to this channel and you enjoy this type of content on a consistent basis, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're familiar with me and you've already been here before, make sure you smash that like button so we can get these videos out to a bigger, wider audience. And also, every time from now on that we hit 1,000 likes on a video, I'm going to drop a specific type of content that you guys demand. So for example, if y'all want some NBA 2K content, if these videos get 1,000, we're going to take a poll, and whatever y'all vote on is the type of content we're going to create. So make sure y'all hitting that like button for your own sake as well. But last night, the NBA is back, second half of the season. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. This has been one of the most wide open seasons as far as teams, playoff race, MVP race. So I'm super, super excited. First game, Cavs, Pistons. I won't lie, I had no idea that Darius Garland and Karis LeVert wasn't going to play. But regardless of that, the Detroit Pistons pulled out an impressive win. I like some of the things that I did see from the Cavs without Garland or Karis LeVert. And I also took some notes of some things that I did see without Garland specifically. And the more specific part is probably the big man play, right? You know, the Cavaliers this season have thrived off going against the theme of the NBA, which is to go smaller, go faster, go quicker, more threes. And the Cavaliers went opposite with the Twin Towers of Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, even signing Lauri Markkanen, getting Kevin Love back into the mix. He's been having an incredible bounce back year. And without Garland last night, it was tough for those bigs to really get involved. You know, Darius Garland is a true dynamic point guard with his playmaking and shot ability and shot creation. I think he allows them to offensively have the easiest baskets they can get. And as a result of him being gone, we didn't really see that. He's not to blame 1,000%, but I do think if he was out there, he would have been able to get easier looks for Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in a night like last night. But one of the things I did like was in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, the game was starting to get a little bit out of reach for the Pistons. It wasn't anything that the Cavaliers couldn't come from, but they were definitely starting to apply the pressure to close out the game. And Lauri Markkanen had 7 points in a row where he was able to pull the Cavaliers back into the game. They eventually tied it on a Isaac Okoro corner three and whatnot. And I think that's an important layer for the Cavaliers, is to be able to have many different guys on any given night be able to step up, go for 7 straight, take a big shot, make a big shot. This is a night, like I said, without Darius Garland, without Karis LeVert, who are also two guys who on any given night can be able to take over a stretch of a game for 2 to 3 minutes and keep them in it. So if you're getting that type of confidence and that type of shot making from Lauri Markkanen, cherry on top. And then also Isaac Okoro being able to be in the game late for his defense, but then also be able to make an important corner game tying three speaks volumes to his growth. And I believe that the Cavs are going to continue to develop him and try to get that 3-point shot to catch up somewhat to that defense. Because if you're getting a 3-and-D Isaac Okoro at a high level defensively, then you're going to be really, really stocked on the perimeter for the Cavaliers. So that was good for them. Ultimately, though, impressive win for the Detroit Pistons. Definitely got to give them the credit for actually pulling out the game. Solid game from Cade Cunningham. Really impressed with them to be able to pull that game out without Saddiq Bey performing to his normal height. I think Saddiq Bey made like one shot, had about 3 points. Hamid Diallo, who I've been impressed with all season, he's taking advantage of the opportunity that he's getting with them. Made a lot of big plays. I think Cade Cunningham is solidifying himself and comfortably becoming that guy for the Pistons. And ultimately for them, because this win doesn't mean much because they're not in the thick of a playoff race, I'm just super interested to see where they're going to fall in the lottery, because it's a lot of different interesting ways that this team can continue to be built with Cade Cunningham and Saddiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart. Killian Hayes got to find his groove and got to find his role, but I still do think that he's young enough for the Detroit Pistons to consider him a part of that young core. And depending on where they fall, you add somebody like Chet, Paulo, Jabari Smith Jr., hell, even a Jaden Ivey. this Detroit Pistons team can be rebuilt rather sooner than later, in my opinion, with the young talent they've already accumulated and now how they've positioned themselves. And you still have a chance to trade Jeremy Grant this offseason for some type of draft compensation or young talent. And the way that Hamid Diallo has transformed his game and taken advantage. We saw Josh Jackson when he was there. I'm really liking what Detroit is doing as a team that's rebuilding. I'm liking their strategy and their moves. And I'm eager to figure out where exactly they're going to land in the draft lottery. So shout out to my Detroit Pistons fans. Y'all doing y'all thing. The next game, the Celtics beat the Nets. It was a bad win. It was a bad win. Bad loss for the Nets. Nets struggling. I do want to give a lot of credit to the Boston Celtics, though, despite them actually beating the Nets. I remember talking about the game in my Xbox party, and some of the homies was like, it beating a G League team. But the Celtics, that's 10 out of their last 11. They have the best defense in the NBA since December 1st. Jason Tatum was incredible and immaculate. Listen, the Boston Celtics I'm proud of because entering this year, I looked at them and I was saying how scary I thought they could potentially be. And even when they started off shaky, I still talked highly of them. So to see them get it together and to do the things that they're doing, and they're the only Eastern Conference team with a winning record against 500 teams, which speaks volumes. That means when they play the good teams, they actually continue to play a high level of basketball versus some other teams who just beat up on a lower conference teams or the lower record teams. But yeah, Celtics, the defense has been amazing. I still think they have another gear to get into as well. On any given night, you have two guys who can go for 30. And I think in a playoff series, 7-game series, that's going to be one of the most scariest things. And it's not too many teams I don't think that they can beat with the way that the defense is playing. And now that the Derek White addition at the trade deadline, I think that's one of the most not talked about trade moves at the deadline. That really helped them as a perfect guy to put between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You were able to keep Marcus Smart, who was the hard to sold, the Draymond Green-esque player of that team. I like what they're doing out there in Boston. I really, really do. Grant Williams, his shot making and his aggressiveness on the offensive ability has taken some nice leaps and bounds. Another thing that hasn't been talked about a lot, and I think that this is going to be a team that's built for the playoffs, and they're going to be a hard out in 7 games, and there's going to be a lot of teams at the end of the season trying to win, trying to lose, and maneuver themselves to not have to play a Boston Celtics in the first round. Like, imagine if the Chicago Bulls had to play the Boston Celtics in the first round. That would be tough. That would be a very tough ask for them after the season they've had. So I'm impressed with the Boston Celtics. The Brooklyn Nets on the other hand, I think they got to start getting to it. I think they have to start ramping things up, even though that's all the reports have said. Ben is ramping up. Kevin Durant is ramping up. The mandate for Kyrie is about. They got to start going now. They won a few games after the trade, but the streak of 10, 11 losses that they had in a row prior to the trade, it really hurt them significantly. I know they're not in too much of a rush because in their minds, they're like, hey, we come back. Even if we're in the 8th seed, nobody's going to want to play a full-strength Brooklyn Nets. But I still don't think that they should want to have to go through the play-in. So they should start to try to get those guys as back as fresh as possible. We still haven't seen Goran Dragic, Ben Simmons, Kyrie ain't still there, Kevin Durant. So if they could start getting some of those guys back, maybe not everybody at once, but just some of those guys, you put them in with the Seth Currys, the Drummonds, and you start winning you some games to potentially catapult yourself into a 7th, 6th seed, something to not have to play in that play-in game, because that's just more games that your guys who should be resting already has to play. But all in all, Celtics is coming, and they're not a team that anybody should want to play in the first round. In my opinion. The Suns against the Thunder. That was a good one just because Shea was back. Shea returned. Had a 30-plus point game in his first game back in a while. Well above 50% from the field. Shea being Shea. My boy Trey Mann was fun to watch. I'm glad he's getting his minutes and finding his groove to be in that rotation out there in OKC. Josh Giddey being Josh Giddey. We even got some Poku minutes. I love the Thunder and what they're doing. I do believe, though, that the Thunder are at that point at the end of this year and into this offseason. They're going to have to start cashing in and going out and trying to get some solidified talent. they're getting real log jammed worthy at every position. To have Poku, Baisley, Jeremiah Robinson, Earl to have to play. You still got Kenrich Williams, Shea, Trey Mann, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort. They also Theo Maladon. There's so many guys who deserve talent to develop, but because there's so many guys, somebody isn't going to get the proper minutes and proper opportunity to develop. And then you also got to look into this year where they're going to have more draft picks to put in and less room to develop. It's going to be tough. So I think that this is the offseason where the Thunder should cash in, depending on where their picks land. Obviously, they get a top 3 pick. Chet, Jabari, or Paulo would all help them because the front court is where they're rather thin, playing a lot of minutes to Derek Favors and Mike Muscala. They could use a Chet Holmgren for sure, but I do definitely think that it's time for them to start figuring out who they want to keep, figuring out who's expendable, because the less minutes you can give a guy, the less likely he's going to develop. Trey Mann is showing that he's a guy that deserves 20 plus minutes. You know what I mean? They believe in Poku. They believe in Maladon. I've seen flashes from a lot of these guys that say, hey, I need 20 to 25 minutes a night. But there's not a lot of room there for those guys to get that type of opportunity. So they're just going to sit on that bench and not develop and be a what if. So you let these guys build up some stock, and you move them, you cash in, you get some proven talent, and you start competing at a higher level. Not saying they got to compete for a championship or go out and get a max-worthy player, but you definitely should cash in 3-for-1 type deals to go get you a solidified starting caliber player to put next to Shea and the rest of these young guys. The Suns obviously streaking, doing their thing, best team in the NBA. They blew them out. My thing about this, though, Devin Booker back at point guard. This is one of the things that I used to use in my Devin Booker against Donovan Mitchell argument. That is the playmaking ability from Devin Booker. And I used to think that was such an underrated part of his game. I think over this next stretch, a lot of people are going to start to catch on and talk highly of it. But it's been something I talked about for years. And it dawned on me, because I do think the Suns are going to continue to keep up their rhythm. I don't think losing Chris Paul is going to make them fall off the face of the earth or lose 7 out of their next 9 or anything. And if Devin Booker is putting up numbers like he did last night, which was like 25, 12, and 5, and they're able to maintain, let alone play still high-level basketball, this could create an MVP narrative. This is the type of situation in a wide-open race, depending on how the next month or so goes. This is the type of situation that could create an MVP narrative for a player like Devin Booker that nobody's talking about. But the Suns are first place. They've been one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league all year long. A lot of people wanted to give the credit to Chris Paul. They were trying to figure out who to give the credit to, because when it comes to the Suns, it's like you want to speak on how highly Chris Paul is, because they definitely got better with Chris Paul. But without Devin Booker, that team isn't the same. So now we've put Devin Booker and the Suns in a situation to create an MVP narrative for their guy. So I'm definitely watching that very close. And I don't think it should be anything that's taken lightly, because I think the Suns have been unfairly treated with their success. Everybody talks about the importance of winning. This is a team that was in first place, best team in the league. They didn't have a starter for the All-Star game. This is a team that's the best team in the NBA. None of their players are ever mentioned top anything for MVP. We're hearing DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, all guys who are deserving and are killing it. But the fact that the Suns don't have a player mentioned seriously is a problem to me, because everybody always talks about the importance of winning. So I'm going to be watching this stretch for the Suns very, very closely, because I do believe that this could be a narrative to push for Devin Booker out of nowhere. This is a wide open MVP race. The Suns, like I said, they're a team that doesn't get a lot of love for whatever reason. A lot of people counted them out to have the same type of bounce back year. I was one of them. I didn't think in a million years they were going to repeat the success that they had. Here they are doing it, and they can keep it up without Chris Paul, and Devin Booker is at point putting up the numbers. Put his name in the MVP hat, and let's make this MVP race even more juicier. Timberwolves, Grizzlies. Timberwolves able to pull it out. Exciting game. Scary moment. I was watching this live when Ja Morant got hurt. We all took a sigh. He was on the ground for a while. by the scores table, and I was yelling at the TV like, just go to the back, Ja. Just go to the back. Don't re-aggravate it. Don't make it nothing more serious than it has to be. We already had a stretch of games where we had to miss you, even though the Grizzlies did hold it down and play some really good basketball without him. You never want to see a talent like Ja Morant have to miss time, especially, with the high flying, the landing issues that everybody talks about. Anytime he goes down, you have to hold your breath because that's something that a lot of people are anticipating, a lower body injury on Ja Morant, and the way the Grizzlies have been playing, their swagger. We don't want to see them not at full strength when it comes playoff times. That's something we just don't want to see. Luckily, he did come back to the game. The Timberwolves were still able to edge it out. I love this Timberwolves team. Anthony Edwards had a tough night, a night where I think he only made one field goal. The rest of his points came from the free throw line. But this is why they're so special. D'Angelo Russell, he picked up the load, had an incredible 37-point game last night. Had 9 assists. Those 9 assists accounted for an additional 23 points. So whenever you have three guys like Cat, D'Lo, and Anthony Edwards offensively, if one of the guys is having a night like Anthony Edwards had, to be able to still win is big. To be able to have another guy who can carry that load, and it's not many nights where Anthony Edwards or any of those three guys are going to have those type of shooting nights. But I just think that three-headed monster offensively has enough to beat you on any given night. Patrick Beverley, I love the swag that he's been giving the Timberwolves. He's just gritty. I remember one play specifically, he was at the free throw line. He misses it, gets his own rebound, misses the layup. They get the offensive rebound and finds him some way, and he knocks down a three. That's just Patrick Beverley at the epitome of Patrick Beverley. And then they win, and after the game, I wish I had the tweet, but he said something along the lines like, "Damn, Memphis Grizz, y'all wasn't acting tough or talking crazy tonight, huh?" He said, "Wish y'all well the rest of the way," or something like that. You know what I mean? So he's talking shit to the Grizzlies. So that's gonna be interesting to see how that pans out. Because I know the Grizzlies now with Ja, Jaren, Dylan Brooks, the feistiness that they have, they can't wait till the next time they see the Timberwolves. So that's gonna be interesting. Cat being Cat, doing his thing. I love Jared Vanderbilt and the role he plays for them. I think he covers a lot of holes that they've been looking to get covered over the last few years. And I even like the bench of Naz Reid, Jordan McLaughlin, Malik Beasley came through and hit some big time threes. Taurean Prince, his shot making ability at times and his length for the defensive side of basketball. The Timberwolves have been an impressive team. We're all rooting for them as NBA fans because they deserve to finally have another shot at the playoffs. Chris Finch holding it down. And they're a team I'm watching. They're a team I'm watching because of Anthony Edwards, because of Cat, because of D'Lo, that trifecta offensively, because of guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, a flamethrower off the bench, Patrick Beverley, Naz Reid. They're going to be an interesting team that I think is going to be a tough first round opponent. So watch the Timberwolves very closely, man. The firepower that they have offensively, defensively, the surprisingness that they've had, the evolution of Jared Vanderbilt and guys like Naz Reid. Watch them closely. The Timberwolves are going to make some noise in the playoffs. Bulls back to the number 1 seed after they beat the Hawks. Another MVP performance from DeMar DeRozan. He's got to be one of the best players or having one of the best seasons that isn't going to win an MVP. It just is what it is. I don't see DeMar DeRozan winning the MVP unless he has another crazy stretch of games. But as of right now, I think the Bulls are solid. I can't wait to see them at full strength. They're right. Some of their players have been speaking about them keeping up this level of play while missing Lonzo, Caruso, and whatnot. So I can't wait to see them back at 100%. It's just hard for me to imagine how far the Bulls can go. I won't lie. I like the Bulls. I like what they're doing. I'm a big Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan guy. Lonzo Ball's my dude. But when I look at them against some of the other teams coming out the East, and I see how many teams are in the East, somebody is going to have to lose in the first round. When you think about the Nets, the Bucks, Sixers, the Bulls, Celtics, Miami Heat, the Raptors now, somebody has to lose in the first round. They all aren't going to win. So there's about 2 or 3 teams that I named out of that 7. That's a strong 7. Somebody's not going to advance, and I believe the Bulls could potentially be one of those teams. I don't want to hate on them. I don't want to underestimate them. But the way some of these other teams are playing, I would not be surprised if the Bulls are one of the teams that were just the odd team out and got caught against somebody unfairly. Imagine if the Brooklyn Nets were the 8th seed and the Bulls finished with the 1 seed, they would have to play the Nets in the first round. That's not a reward for being the first seed. I even think the Raptors, I would take the Bulls against the Raptors for sure in the first round, but I don't think being the 2nd seed, that's a big reward to say, hey, you have to play the Raptors now in 7 games. Every matchup, every team is going to be a tough outing in that first round of the East. Like I said, I do like the Bulls. I do think that they can beat certain teams like the Raptors, but there's a lot of other teams that I think could give them some crazy, crazy problems. So I can't wait to see how they match up in the playoffs. But shout out to the Bulls, man. Shout out to the Bulls. Back to that number 1 seed. I think one of the most fun and exciting teams we've had to watch all year. DeMar DeRozan, this is the true comeback story type of season for him. After a lot of people, I don't want to say wrote him off, but it kind of got quiet for DeMar. This has been good to see. The Warriors blow out the Blazers. Nothing much to see there besides the fact that Anthony Simons is doing his thing. The Warriors are letting those young guys build their confidence up for the playoff run and for when Draymond returns. But that was just another blowout. And then the same thing with the Nuggets and the Kings. The Kings, big monster game from Sabonis. Nuggets get the triple-double watch from Jokic. Misses it by like 1 assist or 1 rebound. Big 31 points from Will Barton. The Nuggets are going to be interesting. Wish that they guys can come back. I think they've been updating us a little by little, saying those guys could return. So that's going to be interesting. And Jokic in this MVP race. Jokic has been playing fantastic basketball. And anytime you give anybody on that team a big game, they're probably going to win. All he needs is somebody to step up and perform. Monte Morris also had a good game. And that was last night in the NBA. I'm happy for it to be back. Second half should be exciting. Playoffs are on the way. As always, this is NBA Weekly. I am Pee Wee the Plug. Till next time, I am out. Peace.